I thought Amy was gonna be here because I saw he was Batman.
Yes.
And you were Panther.
I was Black Panther.
Oh yeah.
Got the helmet right here, baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
$300 from Bangkok.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those as well?
I don't have one.
Okay.
I have an Iron Man one, actually.
What? No. Stay on brand, my brother. Why do you have Iron Man and not Black Panther?
I will have one for sure. I will have one for sure.
Pressure's on, man.
You think so?
Is
I mean,
it really?
it's good pressure, though.
Yeah.
It's good pressure. And, you know, I remember reading one time that you said you skipped the Civil War premiere because it felt too big. So if Civil War felt too big, how did you get used to this?
It was, you know what? It was, I had to work my way into it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to work my way into it. And, you know, when you go to those Marvel premieres, the ones in L.A., they take up blocks and blocks and blocks. And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to sit this out.
Mm-hmm.
This time. I went to Age of Ultron. You know, I saw what it was like. I went to Doctor Strange. And so I think it got me to the place where I was like, I'm ready for mine.
Yeah.
So
And I'm sure Marvel would be disappointed if you didn't show up.
To my own.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, ours was festive, too. It was an amazing experience. You know, we had, you know, everybody was dressed to the nines in their African gear. And
we all have Instagram. We saw it.
It was beautiful, man. It was beautiful.
You suffer from anxiety?
Anxiety about what?
Just in general, like just about life.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I'm having it's a good time.
Got you.
It's interesting because it's not like you grew up saying, I want to be an actor, I want to do this. You were more of a director.
Yeah.
That's how acting came about for you.
Yeah, you know, writing, directing, you know, it's one of those things where you don't see yourself in front. You know, I was thinking about the whole story more so than being a person in the light. And I had to come to the realization, you know, because I had a teacher basically who taught that a director needs to be able to know how to talk to actors, how to ask questions when you're dealing with actors. And so as I started to ask those questions, I found myself wanting to answer them. You know, found myself wanting to go through that exploration. And so I found it in my own way. You know,
that's probably really helpful in acting because you can kind of direct yourself in a way.
You always have to direct yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You always, you know, even when you have a great director like Ryan Coogler, he's depending on the actors to come with ideas and to come to the table with you know, their own. You have to chart your own way through, and when you run into another actor who's doing that, that's when the magic happens. A director who has that going on, he can then, you know, his mind can go to all sorts of places because he has people that really know how to do their job.
You know, 4 years ago, we had you up here, and I asked you if you were playing Black Panther. And you had the worst poker face known to man. And now
I didn't know at that point in time that I had no idea the events that led to this. You know, I'll give what I do is I'll give you credit for being prophetic about it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
you heard it first. Give me my credit. I like my credit.
You are Charlemagne the God, right? You Charlemagne the God, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Claim it. You know, it's been a couple of people that predicted it. So I say you're one of them.
There you go.
How long did you have to keep it a secret when you found out?
It was like 2.5 months.
That's a long time to not be able to.
It was It was 2.5 months. Like my mama didn't know.
Wow.
Really?
Nobody knew.
Because your mom probably would have told everybody.
Yeah, like, you know what?
Well, how the hell did I find out?
What do you mean, how did you find out?
I'm trying to think, I didn't find out, but I kind of knew.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to him.
You were Charlemagne the God, right?
I'm just trying to think, where did I see that? I don't remember.
You know before other people know.
Yeah.
Before Chadwick.
Yeah, we knew before I knew.
Word.
That's amazing.
What made you want to commit to that character?
To Panther?
Yeah.
It was something that the funny thing is when you said it, it wasn't something that was outside of you know, my scope. It was something that I had been thinking about for a few years, and I had a few incidents that you know, they led me to back to the comic book. You know, it was a cross, a Chicana in Peru that has, you know, the condor, it has the puma and a serpent on it, and so that you know, the puma is a Black Panther. So you're there in Machu Picchu, which is sort of a lost city, and it reminded me of Wakanda. It reminded me of the idea of Wakanda. It's been various different trips that I took that made me think of Wakanda. So I had notes written about what a Black Panther movie would be like even before I was cast.
Wow.
So when you said it, it was like, you know what? That would be good if that happened one day. I think this is one of those really, really special moments, you know, in history and art, where things just sort of come together in a way that you can't explain.
Yeah, I saw you say that Black Panther is a cultural moment. I think your exact quote was, "We're not remembering breaking the color barrier or how funk was created, but we are living this." Can you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, this is, you know, I hesitated to say this before we got here because we didn't know whether we had a good movie. We didn't know how people were going to respond to it. But just seeing how people have bought out theaters, you know, before they've ever seen it. They haven't even seen what the movie is. You've seen it.
Saw it last night.
Yeah. They haven't even seen what the movie is. And in some ways, when you're seeing, like, the Black Panther Challenge, which Fred T. Joseph started, they're living up to some of the ideas of the movie when they do that. That's historic.
Yeah.
You know, this is history being created. In those other movies I was doing, you know, we were remembering the past. You know, we were looking back at history. This is you know, a very, very present moment that takes us into what could be a different future.
That was history recreated. And I do love all the roles you played. It seems like you've been really great at picking these really impactful movies to play in.
Some of it I picked, and some of it, was.
I liked it. Listen, I really liked the Thurgood Marshall movie because
Marshall.
I honestly didn't know a lot about Thurgood Marshall until I saw that.
Right.
You know,
James
James
Brown.
Brown was great. Jackie Robinson, 42.
Yeah.
Why does Hollywood think all black people look like Chadwick Boseman?
They don't.
They don't think we all look alike. They think we all look like you.
They don't. That's funny. I had so many biopics after 42 to come at me. You know, so many scripts that, like, if I told you all the different ones, I mean, hundreds of people. And so it just so happens that those are the ones that resonated. Those are the ones that you know, I refused and wouldn't go away. You know, Thurgood Marshall's son, John Marshall, actually wrote me a letter that convinced me to play Thurgood Marshall because I didn't want to do it because I was like he's way too light skinned. I can't play him. You know, like nowhere in the world I could do that.
What famous black men have you turned down?
Not like that. Don't just take that.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. What roles of famous black men have you turned down?
I don't want to say all of them. You know what I'm saying? Because
just give us one big one.
Well, let me just tell you why. I'm trying to think of one that I can't say. While I say why I won't say most of them, because you never know as an actor who's going to end up playing something that you turn down.
Right.
Got you.
And so you don't want to say, well, they gave it to me first. You know what I'm saying? You got my sloppy seconds. You know, you never want to do that, because I think it always ends up with the person that's supposed to end up with. But one of them, I'm trying to think of something that had various different versions of. There's a Sam Cooke. Been these Sam Cooke movies, so one of them was one of those versions.
Got you.
You know, so it's a few characters there, a few.
Any Lifetime movies?
No. Yes.
They asked you to do a Lifetime movie? That must have been early
yes,
on.
Well, people come with everything.
Yeah.
Come, no. People come. They shoot their shot. You know what I'm saying? People come
Why
with
not,
everything.
right? It could happen.
Yeah, they come with everything.
What's your guilty pleasures? Like things that you watch that you're like, damn.
Oh man. I'm looking at my publicist. Should I say?
What's must-see TV for you?
There's honestly there's no must-see, but there are times when, you know, it's so much going on that you need that mindless, you know, sound, that mindless. And I'm not. That's no disrespect to the shows.
So you turn VH1 on.
Yeah, I turn VH1 on. I turn Bravo on. You're like, what are you like? What is Mimi doing? What are they doing? You know,
my gosh.
You have to, you know, you have to have some. You look at Black Ink or something like that.
Yeah.
You have to have some of that sometimes.
Right.
You know?
Now, how much Black Panther content did you consume before taking on this role?
I probably read almost all of the before Ta-Nehisi Coates like started his new run.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to read all of it.
Reggie Hudlin.
Yeah, Reggie Hudlin.
Jesse Hyland.
Jack Kirby.
Yep.
McGregor, who created Killmonger. Everybody. Christopher Priest. You read all of them because, our movie is not based just upon one version.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of each version, but that's what I love about our movie. Just from a comic book standpoint, a comic book fan can look at this movie and go, they'll be very excited because they'll know this came from this particular run, this came from that particular run, and it's literally every run is in our movie.
Would you consider Black Panther a black film?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. I mean, it's a lot of black people in it.
Yes.
And it's actually probably one of the, there's a conversation in this movie that is an in-house conversation. It's a conversation that can only happen if you are on one continent or the other. If you I shouldn't even say that. You have to be part of the diaspora. And so as an African American, there's a conversation that you're having with the continent as you watch this movie. The continent is having a conversation with you. There's a debate that has probably never happened in a movie on this stage ever.
I know exactly the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, it's never happened. And so in that conversation, people will be talking about that, I think, even after the movie is over. And so it's definitely a black film because that conversation is happening without regard for white people.
Yeah.
White people are privy to it.
Let's call them colonizers.
Yeah. So, hey, don't give anything away. Don't give anything. No, that needs to be But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's happening, and everybody's able to enjoy it because it's so specific of a question. So it definitely is a black film. But what I believe truly, and it's sort of a Tolstoy idea, is that the more specific you are in your artistry, the more universal it becomes.
Yeah.
Like, so the more I go into a particular culture, which is what we tried to do because we didn't want to do like a generalized Africa. You needed to be able to pull from, the whole continent in order to create this fictitious African nation. And so they're very, very real concepts and rituals and ideas, and like even in the design, if you see the skyscrapers in the movie, those are actual, architectural, images that you see in Africa. And so we wanted to pull from real things. I think when you do that, people recognize things as being real and they can identify with them more. So that's why you see people from all over the world. Like we were in Korea, and people were coming in wearing their own traditional garb, and just to greet us. That's how they felt about the movie because they saw us doing the same thing.
Was there a particular part of Africa that you studied in order to get like Wakandan culture? Because Wakanda is a fictional country.
So what Ryan did? Actually, let me start with what I did. I listened to dialects from all over the country, all over the continent, and I settled in South Africa, and I did that, for Civil War. He then went to South Africa, and he studied basically an enclave in South Africa, and so that enclave is what our movie is based upon. When you see the border tribe, it's similar to the blankets that are worn in that enclave. And so that's one part of it. I think there are other parts that are very, Egyptian at times, or Kemetic.
Same thing.
Yeah, same
difference.
Some people don't know.
Yeah.
So we pick from there are very specific places. There's part of the clothing that is Maasai at times. So because we have these different tribes, each one of those tribes pulls from a specific thing.
Gotcha.
Now, for someone who's not knowledgeable like myself about Marvel, Black Panther, Is this a movie, when I go see it, I'll be able to know what's going on, what's
Easy.
happening without having the background?
Yeah, the exposition is clear.
Okay.
You know, I think within the first 5 minutes, you have the background of what Wakanda is, and even how it relates to the last movie. It connects to Civil War. You know, you met my character in Captain America: Civil War, so I think all the exposition is very clear. You know, and I don't think
I'm sure
it
there's a
lost.
lot of people going to see this that might have never gone to see a Marvel movie before. You think?
Yeah, there will be some people. You know, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope
Because
so.
this makes people go back and say, okay, let me see what I missed before this.
Just don't
Yeah.
treat it like a sports game. You know, you be watching sports with somebody who don't watch sports, and they be like, "What's that? What is
Yeah.
that? Did he score a touchdown?"
No, you won't do that. You won't do that. You won't do that. Like I think the opening of the movie is very smart in the way that it keeps everything enclosed in this movie. You don't need to have prior.
How many times have you seen the movie at this point?
I can't answer that.
Did it exceed your expectations?
Yeah, that's complicated. Yeah, it lives up to it. It's different. It's different for me because, you know, as an actor, you always go in. You know how many takes you did of this scene, how many takes and you know what they chose and what they didn't choose. So you're trying to deal with, you know, the movie that you shot versus the movie that ends up on the screen the first few times you see it. So, overall, I'm very, very happy with what we've done.
Right.
But then there's a part of me that is always going to be critical and always analyzing the process, and so that the next time you do it, you know, you have a more of a way you want to tackle it. But that's just, you know, the strategy of doing anything. You're thinking of new ways you're going to do what you do.
Absolutely.
Everybody is. But you can still be happy with the final product.
I want to thank you for confirming that there is a sequel too, because you said the next time.
The next time, yeah. yeah.
No,
I didn't confirm that.
And I want to go back to what you talked about with a black film, because you said yes and no. What makes a film a black film?
Well, what makes a film a black film is it's like, you know, when somebody is authentic. I think that's part of what I'm talking about here. Like, Ryan Coogler is very authentic.
Absolutely.
You know, he makes films because he connects with them, and there is, you know, I think he found his stamp and put it on this film, and because that stamp is on the film and it's unapologetic, that to me is part of what makes this, you know, he's very clear about his position, I think, in his journey in this film, in trying to connect to Africa, you know,
And Oakland.
and Oakland. Yeah.
He finds a way to put Oakland in everything.
Yeah.
Salute to Ryan.
Yeah, it's hard to say what that answer is. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And I hesitate sometimes when people say it's black, and because they feel like that's a limitation. A lot of people feel that way. I don't feel like that's a limitation.
Word.
I feel like it could be a black film and also just be a good film. You know, it could just be a film at the same time. This is just a film, and it's authentically black.
Yeah, because the little bit of negativity that I'm seeing from people is, but it's a black cast, but they're just using black people to make white people at Disney all of this money.
Well,
They even got a petition.
like who? Honestly, who cares?
Word.
At the end of the day, filmmaking is a commercial art. You know, if you don't make art when you make movies, if you don't make money when you make movies, then you can't make movies.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So
And this kind of sets the precedent because it shows the value of having black people play these lead roles.
Black
and,
director.
Yeah.
And
And all of that. And now it's like, okay, we got to do more of this.
let me say this too, you know, because I think I'm assuming that the person you're talking about who said that was black.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
You got to be careful of being racist against yourself, right? Because a lot of times people see the name on the outside of a building, and they make the assumption there's a bunch of white people sitting around the table, right? They haven't been in the building, so they don't know who's in there.
Yeah.
They don't know that one of the shot callers, that one of the head producers
Great point.
at Marvel is black. They don't know Nate Moore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if you don't know who's behind the walls, you can't make an assumption that that the person calling the shots is. They don't know that one of the head producers is a woman.
Yeah.
You know, that it's Victoria. Like it's one of the things that, you know, being racist against yourself and saying, oh, they. You don't know who they is.
Yeah.
You don't know. This is all about the people. You know, it's not about the names on the studios. The way things get done. I think the way that I did my business in doing this, and the way that Ryan did his business, he'll tell you very clearly. He went in and he met Kevin Feige, Louis D'Esposito. He went in and met Nate Moore and saw who they were, and he made his decision to do this movie based upon who they were, not the name on the outside.
Gotcha.
And so you can't make assumptions about things because it just. I'm done.
No, I get what you're saying. One last thing on that. What do you think of this petition that's going around that wants to get? They're trying to get Marvel to give 25% of proceeds from Black Panther to the black community. This is a real thing.
I mean, it's not gonna happen. that's what I think about it. You know, sometimes when you make art, you've already given what you're supposed to give.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it. You know, it's they can't do that, and they have overhead that they have to cover.
Yeah,
everybody has overhead. Even if you're not a business, you got overhead. So in order for them to continue to make movies, you know, they have to make money off it.
The way I explained it is, Ryan is going to continue after this to be one. He's going to be one of the biggest directors, if not biggest director in Hollywood.
Right.
He's going to continue to empower black people. You're going to continue to empower black people. Michael Jordan's going to continue to empower black people. Lupita. So that's the win.
That's the win. That's the win. Like, you know, you got to look at it as each person is an entity. Each person is like a company. That like there's a whole, you know, group of people that work with you. Like there's a different people that travel around with me on this tour than it is that work with me on production, and it's black people that are in that group.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where people have to understand how business works, and you know, I have the opportunity to help my family. I have the opportunity to like, you know, buy. I didn't even do a GoFundMe for you know, in South Carolina. I just, you know, bought it.
Right.
Yeah, like I didn't ask nobody else to do it. Like I have the power to do that because I'm doing this film, so I get to give back. I don't have to ask more.
All right.
You know.
Now Chadwick is from South Carolina, Anderson, South Carolina. How much of that South Carolina upbringing makes up the man you are today?
All of it.
All right.
You know, all of it. You know, honor your father and your mother that your days may be long. You know, that's ultimately, you know, what your parents taught you. What you ended up learning later on that they tried to teach you. That's what gets you indoors and helps you to handle being inside. You can't respect your parents, how you gonna respect your boss?
Yes, sir.
You know, so it's all of me.